The Jets are riding a 2-game win streak into a game against a coach that they wanted, the type of quarterback they've been dreaming of. The quarterback play for the Jets still dreadful, and the head coach clearly frustrated with the New York media this week. Welcome into Flight Plan. Tim McMaster along with Zach Rosenblatt. Please like the show wherever you're watching or listening. Welcome to the Baggage Handlers on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review too, and tell us in the comments what you think of the situation right now with this team. Like I said, 2-game win streak, Zach, but it doesn't at 2-7, it doesn't really feel like a win streak as much of a, well, they're playing games and they're going to win, but they are the best team in Ohio. So I will give them that. Well, they swept Ohio. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I was on, for people who were confused, I was attending to like some personal stuff. So wasn't able to cover the game on Sunday. And so we didn't think it made sense to do a podcast either. So I have gone back and read some stuff and watched some stuff and have a good feel of what happened in that game. I will say it was an impressive way to come back. I know, bad team. The Browns really tried to give it to them. Like, it was not like a pretty win, but they played with the right level of energy, and they came out after all that happened in the trade deadline, everybody being like, they gave up on the season, to like come out and play that way was good. Like, we'll see how that translates to Thursday night against, arguably one of the Super Bowl favorites all of a sudden, 8-2 Patriots. Like, that's just that's Drake Maye is literally the MVP favorite right now, which is like just crazy to think about. So we're going to really find out what they're made of, whether they win or lose. We're going to find out what they're made of a little bit more tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that, I am not a person that feels like you should lose on purpose. Like, it just doesn't send. I mean, I don't think any team actually would. But you want to see wins. You want to see progress. You want to see competitiveness, even if you're outmanned and outgunned, which they will be every week now, pretty much. Maybe not like the Saints game or something like that, or a couple of these other, maybe the Dolphins, I don't know, but who actually look pretty good. But you just want to see progress. You want to see these young guys getting opportunities, and you want to see them doing. And we'll get into some of the Aaron Glenn stuff. I will say some of the buttons he's pushed have worked. You look at just to actually, I won't cut into it too much, but like Quincy Williams gets benched, has a great game. Some of the returning stuff we can talk about, but there's some stuff that Aaron Glenn is doing. He's pushing the buttons, and they seem to be working, and so that's a positive sign.
All right, let's use that as a transition into he's trying to push the buttons with the media, it seems like. I don't know if that's the right way to go. It's a little perplexing because this is a guy who knew what he was getting into with the New York media. He spent enough time here, yet he seems to be really getting frustrated with you guys, Zach. So let's get into that. We'll say officially today, Garrett Wilson ruled out for this game.
By Rich Cimini, or was it the official injury report?
We suspect him to miss more than just this week based on some Rich Cimini reporting. But that brings us to yesterday, when Glenn was asked the status of Garrett Wilson, and he said, "Ask Rich," which is just kind of basically going back to the fact that Rich reported on Monday that Garrett would miss likely 3 to 4 weeks. And that did not come from Aaron Glenn telling him that. So apparently it ruffled Aaron Glenn's feathers, but the word got to Rich in some way. So, I mean, it felt childish a little bit on Glenn's part. Maybe there's a bigger plan there with you guys, but he literally would not give you guys a injury update. And when it was pointed out that Rich wasn't even there, so they couldn't ask Rich, he said, and that they were being held, you guys were being held responsible and penalized for Rich's reporting. He said, well, he's just holding you responsible for your own reporting also, which again goes back to a little bit of childish. So, Zach, having been there, is he just frustrated at the season? Is he naive coming into this and what he was up against as far as dealing with the media? Or is there some anger towards a leak in the building that let assuming that information got to Rich in some sort of way through the organization?
I think there's a little bit of almost all of those things you just mentioned. I don't think the fact that they are a losing team actually, like, I think he would be the same if they were winning. Like, I think this is just who Aaron Glenn is. He wants to be able to control the message. He wants to be able to control the flow of information. And, the fact that Rich did that without asking him first, I don't know. rubbed him the wrong way. Like, frankly, that's not our job. It's our job to report. Odds are he would have come out and said that Garrett Wilson was week to week, and that's not really telling us what's going on. And so Rich did his job and reported, and whether he likes it or not, like, this is all petty bullshit. Like, it's at the end of the day, like, my big takeaway is I've had a little bit of time to sit on this since yesterday, is that I'm tired of being asked about Aaron Glenn's press conferences. Like, I go on radio. I went on a radio show in Boston this morning. I go on radio shows in other cities. I go on podcasts. I go on Jets podcasts. I go on all these different things. And that is the number one topic every single time, is how he handles the media. And I'm so tired of trying to explain, like, no, it doesn't matter. When you're losing, it's emphasized more. And more than anything, I wish Aaron Glenn would stop making this a topic, because it's so stupid. And that's what it is ultimately. Like, again, like, it's a cliche, but nobody's going to care if and when they're winning that he's doing this. They're losing and he's doing it. And so he looks kind of silly. And I don't think the reaction to this one specifically, it seems like Jets fans have been more on his side, which I don't really get, but nationally they're getting made fun of quite a bit, which, they're the Jets. That happens. I think that a lot of this is the plot is being lost a little bit here. A reporter asking who the quarterback's going to be, that's part of a weekly conversation that you have with the coach if you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. And the whole conversation has been stupid. We all know Justin Fields is the quarterback. So, okay, I haven't been the one asking those questions, to be fair, but I don't think it's a big deal that they do. When it's clear he's not going to answer it, I don't know if hammering is worth it in the end, but I also don't blame a reporter for doing that. And then the injury part of it, it's our job to ask about injuries, and holding a grudge because one reporter did something you didn't like is pretty silly and childish. But if this is how he wants to be, it's how it's going to go. Like, I would say usually coaches who are like this in the beginning of their tenure, it doesn't really work out well for them in terms of, the media becoming nicer to them. And I'm not saying, I'm not personally someone who's going to ever hold a grudge against a coach for what he says at a press conference. I think that's stupid. I don't have a personal relationship with Aaron Glenn. He doesn't have any interest in having a relationship with us as media. That's fine. Frankly, what I want, and I said this in the Discord, I want them to win too. If they win, then we could stop talking about all this nonsense. Like, win football games. Like, that's all that matters. And so I don't think he's helping himself. He's hurting himself with some segment of the fan base. He's hurting himself with the media, national and local, not just local. Like, he's giving off an impression, that he's like above doing the things that most coaches do. But again, like, this has all become such a topic of conversation around something that, like, does not matter. So, I at the end of the day, he's not helping himself. Do the players care what he's saying at the podium? Probably not. Do the fans? For the most part, they don't. I think after games, they care more than like during the week. I think when you see him saying stuff after a loss where he starts talking about how great they were, fans are going to get mad. They're not mad at us in those moments. And so I think he could help himself by simply saying nothing. Like, he's under, number one, no obligation to tell us his quarterback. That's the truth. He doesn't have to do that. He can be silly about it when we all know who it is, but he doesn't have to. He's under no obligation to tell us anything about injuries either. There's an injury report that comes out. He doesn't have to say anything. I think he'd be better off saying, I don't want to answer that, than answering it the way he does, is what I would say. But again, this is all being like nitpicky about dumb stuff. And, what it does, if his goal is to distract everybody from the fact that their quarterback still can't throw the ball, maybe he's doing a good job, because I don't think Justin Fields is really a topic this week. So if that's the goal, then he's actually gets great marks. But, the idea that, the fans don't like the media anyway, so he's doing the right thing by attacking the media, so they're going on his side. I don't think that really works in the long run. And at the end of the day, like, the media outlasts every single coach. Like, the media is going to be there much longer than Aaron Glenn is. Rich Media has outlasted every single Jets coach. And that doesn't mean you have to like us or that specific reporter or whatever it is. But I think there could be a little level of respect in both directions that maybe hasn't been there. But, again, I don't care. I'm not trying to be friends with the head coach of the Jets. I never have been. My goal isn't to be friends with these coaches. My goal is to cover the team without bias and to cover them fairly. And I write about positive things when they're positive and write about negative things when they're negative. I've written about positive things even while they've lost. I've written nice things about Aaron Glenn, me specifically. when he did that whole dance thing that everybody was making fun of him about, I wrote a really long story like defending him. And I wrote, before anybody was saying that he was going to be safe, I wrote about, laying out why exactly he's going to be safe. So like, I feel like I've been pretty fair. My questions haven't really been met with this. I'm not trying to compare questions. I haven't asked the quarterback question. I hadn't asked about the injuries, so I didn't get those answers. If you ask the question he likes, he gives a pretty good answer. And it's kind of annoying that that's the case, but that's kind of how he is. So, I'll adjust going forward, but at the end of the day, press conferences don't matter. You can have the best intro press conference and it might not be a good coach at the end of the day. You could have a terrible intro press conference and you might be a great coach at the end of the day. His approach is different than Dan Campbell. His approach is probably more in the line of a Sean Payton, who was another mentor of his, and a Bill Parcells. The difference, of course, is those guys kind of earned it by winning football games, which he has not done. So that was a long-winded rant that I didn't plan on going on. And the overall message, if you don't feel like listening to all of it, is who freaking cares?
Who cares? And let's move on. We're going to do like a quick, I think we can keep this quick, but 4 downs because we didn't have the episode earlier in the week. Just looking back on that Browns win. Let's start with Glenn. And you mentioned this off the top. Hey, this team was, coming off a win. But coming off a trade deadline in which they traded away their best 2 defensive players, in which they seemed to frustrate a key linebacker in Quincy Williams, a running back in Breece Hall. And despite all of that, this team came out and, while ineffective offensively as far as throwing the ball, this team played hard. They were in it from start to finish. And it's pretty clear that despite the moves the organization made that made this season nearly impossible to really come back from, this team has not quit on this coach. And they came out and they played and they played. I'm sure they played for each other and they played for who's there. But it could have gone the other way. So that was pretty good to see on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, look, the special teams in particular, I'm guessing, I don't know if did you have that as a down?
We have that as a next down.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I won't touch on that, but yeah, the defense came to play. It is a Browns offense where the quarterback probably is an NFL quarterback. But Will McDonald, Quincy, the secondary to a degree, like they had really good days, and the defense has improved. The Bengals game was really bad, obviously, for a lot of reasons, but they closed out that game well. And again, I mean, this Patriots game is going to really be a good marker to see where the Jets are at, actually, because the Browns are not good. But to come out and play the way they did, to come out and respond to the trade deadline and all the comments and conversation around how this was a give up, and all these guys who wanted to be traded or hinted they wanted to be traded, and everybody was talking about they were getting traded, and they came back and they all pretty much played well. So if you want to be encouraged about Aaron Glenn, I think you can start there.
You mentioned the special teams. Chris Banjo's unit has been impressive. Obviously, the offense was bad, but the special teams scored enough points that it didn't matter. Kenny Nwangu had the touchdown return on the kickoff. Isaiah Williams, don't quit on Isaiah Williams, came through with the punt return for a touchdown. Those are back-to-back plays. And because of where it put the team in the game, as far as like up early, it almost like, I don't know, as a viewer of the game, it like took your mind off the fact that Justin Fields was playing so poorly, because it was like, oh, look, this team's scoring all over the place. But it was just from the kicking game and the kick return game. But that said, the special teams unit is starring right now for this team.
I mean, they won a game where they scored 27 points in a game where they had like 40 net passing yards. So, I mean, Chris Banjo, I wrote that story in the offseason about him and his background and why he's viewed as like a rising star. And Sean Payton told me he's going to be a future head coach. I think they went through their bumps in the beginning of the season. Xavier Gibson, he gets cut. He actually had a bad moment in that Eagles-Packers game, Xavier Gibson, by the way. Isaiah Williams has that terrible game where he gets cut, puts on the practice squad. I think that was one of the buttons I was talking about being pushed. Like he showed some accountability, but he also showed that he still believes in Isaiah Williams. So they brought him back and it's paid off and he's looked really good. But man, Kenny Nwangu, every time he's healthy and playing, like it seems like there's a chance he could score a touchdown on every return. Like I've never seen anything like that. Well, and the thing
is, things went so badly in the kicking game when he wasn't there. It's almost like double. It's like double, right? Because you've lost games in the kicking return game without him, and now he's showing what he can do.
I mean, look, the special team, if you look at like the 4 quadrants of special teams, the Jets are pretty elite at all of them right now. If you think about it, you have kicking. Nick Folk has yet to miss a field goal. I don't think a kicker has ever done that in an entire season, like extra points and field goals. Austin
You just
McNamara.
cursed him.
Yeah, I know I did. Sorry, guys. Austin McNamara I can't imagine there's 5 better punters than him in the NFL based on the way he's played, just pinning in the 5-yard line constantly. The kick return and the punt returns, which both have been a lot better. The kick return is great when Kine's in there. I wonder if they win a game or two literally by having him early in the season. I think he's that good. And then coverage, which I think has been pretty good. Their kick and punt coverage has been pretty solid. And so that all adds up to a special teams coordinator that's doing a great job of getting these guys ready. I think it was Kine who said, like, on a kick return, like nobody gets the glory but the returner. Like nobody's looking at each individual blocker. Like nobody's going to call out a specific guy. But it takes like a whole team just like being willing to do the dirty work. And these guys have just bought into what Chris Banjo is selling. And I think Brant Boyer became underrated by the end because fans kind of soured on him. But I thought he was a solid coach. Chris Banjo has been an absolute home run as a rookie coach who just played in the NFL 3 years ago. So the special teams, like they've given them a shot in a lot of these games, which is crazy to say.
All right, third down. Justin Fields only attempted 11 passes, Zach. 6 for 11, 54 yards, touchdown and interception. The touchdown was a screen pass, which, hey, screen pass. That was good to see. It was bad. The thing I want to talk about those, Zach, is as bad as it was, you kind of referenced it a little bit. It's almost been normalized now that this is what Justin Fields will be, that the net passing yards is going to be under 50 and there's going to be no production. It's become a consistent thing to the point where we're just talking about other stuff because it's just like, oh yeah, Justin Fields was terrible again.
Yeah. I mean, to have less than 55 passing yards in 3 of 4 games and still be the quarterback is pretty crazy. Like I saw somebody tweet this. I don't know who it was. It might have been one of the guys from Jets X Factor where they were like, I've never seen a quarterback look so much like a rookie in his 5th year. Like he locks into his first read. Like the interception was awful. Like Aaron Glenn was trying to give him credit for taking a shot downfield. He locked into Garrett Wilson the entire way, and it was a bad throw. Like it was like embarrassing. Like he needs to change the scenery. Like he should not be the Jets quarterback.
He's had a few of those.
He has. And, Tyrod has his high ups and his low lows, but, he's going to take the shots. And I don't know. If they want to, like, actually see what you have in these receivers, especially these young guys that they're really trying to, like, figure out if any of these guys can be a part of the team next year, especially with Garrett out. Talking about Arian Smith, Adonai Mitchell, who was a healthy scratch, but he'll probably play this week, John Mechie. Even Isaiah Williams. Like if you want to get a real look at these guys, you need a quarterback who can deliver them the ball at the very least. And Justin Fields is not that guy. Like Arian Smith, it's really hard to evaluate him because, there's been times where he's open down the field and Fields doesn't see him. He's not a perfect receiver. He probably was overdrafted, but it's really hard to evaluate Arian Smith when he's run like 200 routes and has been targeted like 15 times or 10 times the entire season. And so, I don't know what you gain by having Fields out there anymore. The Patriots have really good defense. Maybe this is the last time we see Fields. They'll have 10 days after this to figure out who their next quarterback is. I'm sure they will definitely tell us. But the Fields thing has run its course already. Like I'm kind of tired of watching him pass the ball.
Yeah, I mean it's just they're so one-dimensional. All right, last one from last game, and then we'll move on to the Patriots game. Another bright spot to end on. Will McDonald, 4 sacks. Suddenly he has 7 on these. Suddenly he's on pace for a huge sack total season because of like this incredible game. But as a team, they get to the quarterback 6 times for 6 sacks. It is the Browns. We know that they're not a good football team, but it was encouraging to see some pass rush because it just hasn't been there.
I mean, especially from Will, like he was not being very productive this season.
And I'll say we thought maybe Quinnen being traded obviously would impact him in a negative way. Maybe it motivated him.
Yeah, hopefully. And, at the end of the day, he's their most talented pass rusher, like easily, especially with Quinnen gone. But in the edge rusher room, like he's just got a unique blend of athleticism and length. And he's got a good motor. He hasn't developed as a run stopper, but you're not going to get 4 sacks every week. You're not going to play the Browns every week, but if he can at least be a threat as a pass rusher, that really changes things for this D-line. And it's still a solid D-line without Quinn, and they just don't have the guy eating double teams up in the middle. So, I'm curious how well-coached teams are going to adjust to Will. And that includes the Patriots. That includes the Ravens. Maybe not as much the Falcons, but like as you go down the line, there's going to be teams you go against that are going to scheme to try and stop Will now if they aren't already. And so curious to see how he handles it. This was obviously highly encouraging, and it kind of makes the season to this point look a little better on paper because he has more sacks now. I think he has 7 or 8 sacks. Whereas like it didn't seem like he was on pace to get close to what he had before. So encouraging, but I need to see it consistently is what I would say.
All right, so that is last game. Now let's look ahead to Thursday night, and then it'll be the mini bye, which is at a good time at this point. This Patriots team, they've won 7 in a row. They've been incredibly consistent. Now they've had an easy schedule, but within that overall easy schedule, they won at Buffalo over the Bills, and this past weekend they won at Tampa Bay, obviously against a good Bucs team. So like you can't just say they're beating up bad teams; they beat some good teams too. And Zach, I want to start here because you spend so much time with Mike Vrable. No, I shouldn't say so much time. You spend some quality time with Mike Vrable, writing that big story that you came out with when we thought there was a very good chance at the time that he would be the Jets head coach at this point. But then obviously the Patriots made the move to one and done, and then they get Vrable. So when you see how this Patriots team has turned around from 3 wins to, looking like I don't want to say Super Bowl contender, but they have the inside track on winning the division, and probably a home game in the playoffs at least. How shocked are you, or are you not? Because I know you really like Mike Vrable.
Yeah, I'm not the only one. I think, the formula to turning a quick turnaround is always quarterback and coach. Like if the coach and the quarterback like are significantly better from year to year, you're going to see a new coach come in and have a great year. This has been better than I could have expected. I mean, the thing always was with the Patriots is if they started off well, the schedule laid out for them to have, a really great season because they have such an easy schedule because of how bad they were last year. Like, I just want to pull it up right now.
Which is the NFL is built that way, obviously.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can only beat the teams. You can only beat the teams you play too. So like the idea that anyone criticize them for it is crazy to me. But so they're 8-2 right now with wins against Tampa, who's a playoff team. Buffalo is a playoff team. Carolina has a winning record. Miami looks better. They only lost to the Steelers because they turned it over 5 times. They should have won that game. And Atlanta, I think, is probably better than their record. And then coming up, you have New York, Cincinnati, Giants, Bills, Ravens. Those are 2 tough games. And then Jets, Dolphins. So there's a real scenario where this Patriots team wins 12 or more games, which is crazy. And maybe they're not, like you said, they're not probably a real Super Bowl contender, but who knows? Like crazier things have happened. And you have the MVP frontrunner right now in Drake Maye in his second year. And, am I shocked? Yes, I'm shocked that they are 8-2. Like I would not have seen that coming. I think the Bucs win was the one where I think everybody started to really take them seriously now because people really like that Bucs team. They're a solid, really good team.
And the Bills win was gutty, and they got some breaks and made some plays, but they kind of control. I mean, they almost it was close, obviously, but
the Bills look like they stink now too. So
yeah. Against the Bucs, I felt they just felt like they were in control of that game most of the way.
Yeah. I mean, so, I think what's always going to happen now with Aaron Glenn, because they came in the same cycle, that the Patriots and the Jets wanted to hire Mike Vrable. Like that is a 100% fact that they wanted to hire him before they hired Aaron Glenn. The Patriots job opened. Everybody knew he was going to the Patriots. But so now, as long as those two are coaching these 2 teams, they're going to be compared here. I don't know if they're going to be compared over there as much because they're so far ahead of the curve already. So, you have some fans who are like, why does it work so quickly for them, but not for us? They have a quarterback. I mean, I think Vrabel's a great coach. The Patriots also spent a lot of money this offseason. Like that doesn't always work. They brought in the right guys, it seems like, though. Like when you go on a free agent spending spree, it's pretty rare that it works out, but most of those guys have worked out. One of them is Morgan Moses, former Jet, who was really valued down here. But Milton Williams, everybody thought they overpaid, and he's been a stud for them. they've gotten healthy in some areas. Their defense looks like it did at its best the last couple of years since Christian Gonzalez has been healthy. In that offense, like they take deep shots. Like they're not just like a pounded team, which you maybe would have guessed they would be with Vrable because that's what they were in Tennessee. But that was because they didn't have a quarterback in Tennessee. And so, it's kind of a scary proposition that the Patriots have their coach and quarterback locked in for the next 5 years. And the Jets have a question at quarterback and questions about whether Glenn can reach those levels because we have no idea if he can. And so the Jets decided to take the long-term approach, not to say the Patriots aren't thinking long-term, but the Jets decided to take we're not going to spend any money. We're going to really just take a step back, evaluate what we have. Hopefully we'll compete better this season. They didn't. And then we're going to build for the future with all these trades they've made. And they're really banking on patience and getting to 2027 with their heads on and Woody Johnson not involved too much, and then hoping you find the quarterback in there. But at the end of the day, the Patriots' advantage is they have an experienced head coach and they have a quarterback who looks like an absolute star. I think Aaron Glenn, to a degree, I was asked on the radio show this morning in Boston, like, what would the Jets be appreciably better if Vrable was their coach right now? And I'm like, yeah, I think they would win a couple more games because I think there was a couple games earlier this season where Aaron Glenn's inexperience really hurt them. And not to say he lost them games, but, I'll never forget the halftime moment in London, obviously, where he just let the clock run out. There was just a lot of like the team didn't seem prepared at the beginning of games. All the stuff before halftime was a disaster quite a bit. The Jets were making a lot of mistakes. They're getting penalized a lot. Like, I think Mike Vrable would have cut into a lot of those issues. I don't know that Justin Fields would have been their quarterback either if he was the coach. I don't know who would have been, but I don't think it would have been him. And so, are they a playoff team? Probably not, but do they have 4 or 5 wins? Like, I actually think they do if Vrable was their coach. Now, I keep saying this, and, I don't think Glenn has been impressive. You just look at the whole body of work through 9 games, but he's gotten better the last couple of weeks, and it's a full season. He deserves a full 17 games for me to evaluate what kind of coach he is. And so if he starts to show improvement and not just someone who's learning on the job, then by the end of the year, I might be like, I think they might have the right guy to get them there. But I'm not ready to say they do or don't yet, I would say.
Brian Rizzo says we need a Zach Vrable dap up at the game in Foxborough Thursday. Look forward to that. Most of the season, when you looked at this Patriots team and the offense, and one of the reasons Drake Maye is considered an MVP candidate is because they were very one-dimensional, and they were throwing the ball all over the field, but they could not run it. And then you look at Sunday, and suddenly starting running back out, right, Ramondre Stevenson. So they go to the rookie TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State, and he just blows up. 14 carries, 147 yards. He had 2 big ones. He's lightning quick. And you wonder if like they've kind of unlocked something now, and maybe they have a running game. We'll see against the Jets, obviously, what they do.
Yeah, I mean, Henderson, he's an interesting one because I think he had a lot of hype in the preseason because he had a really good preseason, and in training camp he was like amazing, and then he just like was not playing well and just couldn't get on the field. And there's something to be said about patience, both in fantasy football and in real life, because I think a lot of people gave up on TreVeyon Henderson in fantasy, and now it looks like he's the stud that everybody thought he was going to be. And if he's that good, you have Stephon Diggs starting to look like the old Stephon Diggs. Like, he's been really, really solid for them in a leader. And they have like just a succession of like guys that have like contributed week to week, like Mac Hollins or Kyle Williams, the rookie, or Kayshon Boutte. They've had like these guys emerging, whereas like Jets receivers haven't quite done that. But as they like upgrade that receiver room, Hunter Henry, solid tight end. I think the offensive line, they have some pieces. Will Campbell's been pretty good. Like, that has the makings of an offense that should be one of the best in the NFL pretty soon, I would say. And I am concerned about, I'm not sure if Ramondre's playing this week or not. I haven't seen if he practiced or not. But either way, TreVeyon Henderson, if you have both of them, that's a duo that's hard to stop. And the Jets have had some issues with tackling and stopping the run. So I'm very fascinated to see how they are able to contain him if they do.
You mentioned the money that they spent. So let's jump to the other side of the ball, because Steven Gonzalez is he's kind of the Patriots Sauce Gardner, right? Like, a high draft pick who has turned into a stud cornerback. But then they went out and they spent money on the other side in Carlton Davis. And he had, like you said, all these guys they spend money on have been effective. And now they have one of the top duos in the league. So you take Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, then you take away Garrett Wilson. And I mean, I guess we hope for a lot of screen passes. I just don't know what
the Jets
to look for as far as the Jets passing attack this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets couldn't pass the ball against the Browns with Garrett Wilson before he got hurt again. So don't have a lot of confidence unless like A.D. Mitchell just like goes off. I will say Garrett has done pretty well against Christian Gonzalez historically, so they really are missing him. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the kind of game where the Jets need to win it by, or control the clock by running the ball. Justin Fields really hasn't run the ball that much still, which is kind of crazy. But running the ball, Breece Hall has been playing. He continued what he looked like before the bye, and he's playing his way into a big contract, honestly, if he keeps this up. Like, he's looked really, really good. That touchdown run was stellar running by him, and a great block by Joe Tippmann helps bring it. And there was another run where it looked like he was about to get tackled by two guys like behind the line of scrimmage, and then he was able to cut out and like get a huge gain for a first down. Like he's like back playing at his best. He's clearly motivated by all the things he's heard about himself and the idea that he should have been traded or whatever it is. And so feed Breece.
Well, I think he's thinking like, you know what? You didn't trade me. I wanted to be traded. I'm going to play so good I can go wherever I want next year.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing to a degree that I can see a scenario where they franchise tag him because they have like $95 million cap space. So like $11 million on a franchise tag or whatever it is, that's not really that debilitating.
And then maybe trade him.
Yeah, you can trade him, or you just run it back after a year if he's this good. So, he's made it interesting, and now they look smarter for not just giving up on him for a 4th round pick. Honestly.
All right. Anything else on this game before we go to picks?
Trying to think. AZ Thomas isn't playing. He has a concussion, which is notable. So Jarvis Brownlee went outside when he went out the last game, and I don't think Jarvis was particularly good on the outside. He's much better as a nickel. So I'm curious to see how they handle that, if they try to get creative, especially, Stephon Diggs, who's covered. I mean, Brandon Stevens, I should say he's had a great season. For as much criticism as we gave him and everybody did in the first couple of weeks, like, he's been solid, and he'll probably follow Stephon Diggs, I would think. But those other guys, they're really vulnerable there for some deep balls and stuff like that. They need the safeties to play well. Tony Adams is going to start again, and Malachi Moore's been up and down. And so the back end is the big question I have, especially against Drake Maye, who's going to take shots down the field. So,
all right, let's take a look at the picks. First, the standings. Chauncey continuing to lead the way. I think Chauncey's been in front for a long time, but it's getting tight. Just one game, the advantage over.
I'm rising. I'm in 12th. Not bad. I must have had a good week.
I'm 19th. I missed a week.
Well, that's
sorry to admit that I missed a week. It was the bye week. I think we didn't do the pod, and so it wasn't in my head that like, hey, I have to do the picks for the pod, and so I didn't do the picks. So that's bad. So that's going to take me out of the running. Not that I was really in it anyway. All right, let's look at this week's games, and let's start with the Jets game because it's Thursday. Make sure you get your picks in early so that you can get the Jets pick on the board. I'm picking the Jets, Zach. I said I was going to pick the Jets until they proved me wrong, and they've won 2 in a row. So even if they did it in weird ways, I'm not picking them to win this game, but 11.5 seemed like a lot. I think that the defense,
that's a lot.
Teams keep it close. They lose by 10.
Thursday games are weird.
The Patriots are due for a dud too. Like I mentioned, how consistent they've been. It's like week in, week out, you see the same team, and that's just not really normal in the NFL. Like most teams have, the ebbs and flows, and they have bad weeks. And I feel like the Patriots are kind of due for one of those.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it being a blowout, frankly, especially short week, and Justin Fields at quarterback. 11.5 is such a big number. I always hesitate to pick a minus 11.5. But since I have to make a pick, I'll say the Jets cover. I'll give them that. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but I'll say it.
Elsewhere, I have the Rams over Jacksonville, road favorites. I have the Packers
Chargers
over the what?
The Chargers, you mean?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Rams. Wrong LA. I have Packers over the Giants, man.
Yeah, they fired Dable. Goodbye.
Right. So do they come out with that, like, our coach was fired spirit? I don't think they do.
I mean, Jackson Dart's not playing. It's going to be Jameis probably. I mean, I don't think that's official yet, but I think that's going to happen. And
They officially moved him
Mike
into
Kafka,
the 2 spot, though. So.
Mike Kafka gets a lot of like head coaching interviews, but I've seen and been part of interviews with him, and he's one of the most boring coaches I've ever interacted with. So I just don't see him being an inspirational figure. So we'll see, but I could see this rest of the season being a little ugly for them.
All right, some key games. Kansas City, Denver is obviously a big one out west. What do you think there?
Yeah.
I have Chiefs on the road, 3.5 favorites.
Yeah, I would take the Chiefs. The Broncos have been pretty ugly in their wins, even against bad teams. Seattle Rams is a really good game, by the way. I think Stafford and Maye are probably the front runners for MVP. He's been like on fire, and I think the Seahawks are really, really good. So that's a fun game. We get Quentin Williams' debut against the Raiders. Let's see what else we got.
Another good one is Bills Bucks.
Yeah, I'll take Bucks plus 5.5 on that one. The Bills are really ugly right now.
They got to wake up.
Bills, wow.
Man. You can't lose to the Dolphins that way and not bounce back.
Yeah.
And then one more good one Sunday night, Detroit at Philly. That's a real good one.
Maybe an NFC Championship preview. Yeah, I'll pick the Lions on that one, but that I'm going to watch that one. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I get the Eagles. All right. Anything on the way out here? Are we going to be back Friday to recap the game?
We'll have to figure it out. My schedule's a little weird that day, but if we can. If the Jets win, we absolutely will. If they lose, I'll try my best, is what I would say.
Wait till Monday if they lose.
Yeah. But yeah, so happy to be back, and we'll get you guys soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Flight Plan.